the loneliest man in space. I would have never believed that it was Adam Sandler.
I don't need your help, but you do.
Fresh releases.
My name's Blaise.
And my name is James.
And this week, we're talking about Adam Sandler's The Spaceman.
You go where I go, and I go where you go.
I just want to come home.
The Spaceman just made its debut on Netflix. It takes place half a year into a solo mission on the edge of the solar system. An astronaut, concerned with the state of his life back on Earth, is helped by an ancient creature he discovers in the bowels of his ship. I went into this movie completely blind. I just saw a little, poster on Netflix of Adam Sandler on this pretty little green planet. I was like, ooh, it looks like this movie's got some good cinematography. You checked it out the first week it came out. It's been out for like 2 weeks now. I'm glad I got to check it out because it is a fantastic movie, but I suffer from a disease known as arachnophobia. That was not fun watching this movie with those kind of sequences. Blaise, what are your thoughts on this movie?
You didn't like, what's his name? Hanus, right?
Not gonna lie, going into the movie, I would not want to hang out with this guy for a long time or look at him, but, he ended up being quite a likable, nice little creature out in space for Adam Sandler to make when he's, feeling very isolated.
And he's kind of arachnid-like, but he's not exactly like a spider. Like, he has different traits.
Yeah.
Like, he's not entirely, I don't remember if he had exactly 8 legs, but I just know that his limbs weren't operating always perfectly like a spider. I think he had, less legs, and just the look of him, he looks like a spider, but it's not quite entirely all there. Anyways, getting into the meat and potatoes of the movie, it's about Adam Sandler, who is on this mission to kind of explore this anomaly in space, but he's confronted by this creature that we were talking about that looks exactly like a spider, but has some slight different details, who is quite charming and kind of confronts him, and but is kind of operates in like an ethereal way. He's not really totally there. You can move through him and stuff, and no one really knows at ground control that he's even part of, I guess, on the space. So he's kind of a multi-dimensional creature, I guess, in a way, right? It feels like he's not really in the same dimension as Adam Sandler, but he's able to communicate with him. But a lot of the other people that are, at ground control that are communicating with Adam Sandler over this kind of Zoom-like interface, they don't really realize that, Hanus is there. So I thought that this was just a movie that I was expecting going in that this was going to be like Hubie Halloween. So I was caught off guard.
Yeah.
I thought it was The Spaceman.
He's got that Netflix deal. It's hard to tell what's an Adam Sandler movie or just a movie starring Adam Sandler. And, I love Adam Sandler, whether it is an Adam Sandler movie or a movie starring Adam Sandler. I know his movies are, it's just him having fun with his buddies and stuff. But, every once in a while a movie like this comes out that just catches you off guard. And I'm glad that Uncut Gems is what made people realize, Adam Sandler's a good actor, even though he's been doing this for a long time, for decades now. Just, he just doesn't do it very often. And I'm glad that he's doing it a little bit more often these days. But, this movie is nothing original, but it's definitely something that's going to stick with me. Something, maybe it's because I'm scared of spiders. Maybe that's why it resonated so much with that movie Enemy with Jake Gyllenhaal. But this movie does a lot of that, just isolation in space, just a lot better, I thought. I think it's more conveying having him talk to, a creature versus AI, just because a lot of people are comparing this to Solaris and 2001: A Space Odyssey, movies I haven't seen, but I've seen other movies like Moon. I've seen other movies like Sunshine, where there's a lot of AI interaction and stuff. And, you know, while those are two very different movies, well, there's actually a lot of similarities to Moon, I'd say, with this movie. But, you know, this movie just does that isolation in space very well. Easily could have been a quarantine COVID film, but, like, definitely feels a lot more grand still, too. whether it's the intimate sequences with Hanus, played by Paul Dano, or with Carey Mulligan, the backstory there.
Yeah. They never really interact, it feels like, throughout the film. That was, I think, one of the only things really in this movie that lacked for me, is because they're never really interacting beyond just being a zoom link. But yeah, I felt like overall, like, not to, rag on Carey Mulligan. I think she's a great actress. I don't think she really had enough to work with in this script, especially with no, like, actual close interaction with the actor that she's kind of, sharing most of her screen time with. So, there's a good scene between her and Isabella Rossellini, and a lot of that stuff really hits home. That's a lot of the emotion that I really enjoyed about this movie, was just her kind of having to kind of keep on this facade while, she's clearly fallen out of love with Adam Sandler's character. But yeah, the loneliest man in space, I would have never believed that it was Adam Sandler and his spider-like friend.
And I've constantly thought this, and we've said it amongst each other, but I don't think we've ever said it on the show, but just Adam Sandler is just really good at just having that sadness to him. And I think that's always been a great trait with comedians who, when they take on a role that's like dramatic like this, like we've seen it with Jim Carrey in movies like Eternal Sunshine and The Number 23. I'm joking about that one, but just Adam Sandler just makes the role very believable. And I hope he keeps doing movies like this. I'm not familiar with the director, Johan Rennick. I might be pronouncing his name incorrectly, but I know that they're responsible for the critically acclaimed series Chernobyl, which I still have not watched. Have you checked that one out?
Nah, it seems a little bit of a heavy watch. And I'm not really a TV guy. I'm more of a movie guy, so gotta be probably more lighthearted and shorter for me to really get into something like that.
And I know they're two very different things, but that movie Chernobyl Diaries really left a bad taste in my mouth. Like, I still consider that one of the worst movies I've ever seen. You and I saw early screening back when we both lived in back when I lived in San Diego, and I just remember everyone was going oh, to when Jesse McCartney is proposing before he dies. This is stupid. I can't wait for these characters to die, because all of them were idiots in that movie, and just ended with the stupidest cliffhanger shot, jump scare shot, and just that was back when I was seeing so many bad movies in a row. I was just damn, horror is just a bad genre right now. And so that's why I refuse to watch the show Chernobyl, even though I'm sure it's miles better than Chernobyl Diaries.
This is anything with the word Chernobyl, just put a bad taste in your mouth because that one movie. I mean, honestly, I was thinking about that movie the other day, and I don't know, I just thought some of the locations obviously were awesome, but yeah, you're right, the character development, all that was horrible. But some of the cinematography and action, I guess, were I was reminiscing about them just randomly. Nothing
That's
great,
funny.
But I was just thinking about it,
Yeah, I wonder what made us think about it. I guess it's a 10-year anniversary time for those movies. I can't remember. I'm sure that movie's over 10 years old now. I'm sure it's pushing that 15-year actually anniversary. But yeah, back to the Spaceman though. There's not really a whole lot to say on it. Even though it's almost 2 hours long, it feels very short. It's just it's well layered, and just it's like an onion, as Shrek says. There's a lot of layers within it, but just overall it's a very straightforward story. There is some stuff that you can get a little heady on within the movie, but just the cinematography, the score, and just the abstractness to go with the character or just to go with the director's choice of having this arachnid character within the movie. It's just going to make this movie very memorable, I'd say.
Yeah, I thought that the effects too were really well done. It's a lot of CGI, but it always looks pretty good. It's always surprising. And yeah, I just really enjoyed this movie. It was an easy watch, and just seemed somewhat original, but like you mentioned earlier, it still had a lot of those influences from some, greater movies like Solaris or, other films of that ilk. Felt like a Tarkovsky movie or something, but then it still had, enough American sensibilities. One gripe I do have though is I know it's based on an original novel, but I honestly wish they just changed all the names and stuff, because no part of me believed that anyone in this film was actually Ukrainian. It just did that aspect
Right.
did not work for me. I know it's the typical movie cliche to just have it always be in a movie be in a different country, but everyone's still speaking English. Well, this doubled down on that, where everyone's entirely doesn't seem Ukrainian. They all have these like thick accent Ukrainian names, but then they're just saying them in like English. That didn't work at all for me. But I mean, I guess they wanted to be true to the Kafka source material, but yeah, that missed me with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I totally see that logic. And yeah, that is something that, like, you know, when I watch movies like, you know, movies that I love, like movies like Gladiator or Kingdom of Heaven and stuff, I watch these movies and I'm just like, they weren't speaking English in this region. So like, why is everyone speaking with a British accent and then this person speaking with an American accent and stuff? And
everyone's supposed to be Romans for no reason. Like,
exactly. Yeah. You know, like I let stuff slide in movies and stuff. And, you know, those movies I let slide. I love both those movies. But, you know, we're getting at that time of age where, you know, like, of course, some actors can't speak that language. So I get why they have to go with English. But, you know, if the opportunity comes, like they easily could have got a Ukrainian actors to, you know, speak the proper language and stuff and use their proper dialect tones. But overall, it didn't bother me. But I definitely agree with your logic. That can drive me crazy sometimes. But yeah, you know, this movie's easy to check out. It's on Netflix. Watch a lot of Netflix movies on here. Are you watching them? Because you should be letting us know in the comments below. That's a great way to help support the show. Talk to us about these movies, please.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
And speaking of updates, be sure to catch all our social media links down below. Check us out on Instagram. We also got Twitter, TikTok, and we also have our own personal letterbox accounts. That'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.